to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K, and today's Friday, January 8th, 2021. And on this week's episode, I'm going to be doing my response to the most popular tag every year, the most popular thread every year, the vinyl tag. That's right, it's the vinyl tag 2021. I started my channel at the end of February in 2020, so I haven't had a chance to ever do this tag. So I'm really excited to do it this year, though I did participate in the vinyl tag 2020 quarantine edition, which was a lot of fun. So, but this is the official vinyl tag, or at least it's the first vinyl tag to come out this year, and it was dropped by Tales from the Crate. He'd done the vinyl tag, and there's been a lot of videos already all week long from a lot of the most popular channels, all jumping in on the vinyl tag. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not jump in on this vinyl tag as well. And so I'm excited to do this. I've got a big stack of stuff to show. I'm not going to waste too much time here because I want to get right into it. I've got the questions, I got my vinyl, but before I do jump into it, just one quick thing. In my previous video, which was my top 25 of 2020 video last week, I did some shout outs, and there were 4 shout outs or 5 shout outs that I really wanted to put in there. And when you're making these videos, you get brain freeze and you forget. So I'm just going to do a couple of quick shout outs before we get started here that I missed in the last video. Shout out to Ron Beaudry, love Ron's channel, great fellow. I've streamed with him, fantastic guy. Ron Beaudry, check him out. He's a real expert on vinyl pressings, and of course the Vinyl Archivist, Pat. Check out his channel. He's another expert in the world of vinyl pressings. So check both of those guys out. And also Davis Winchester, fabulous fellow, does a lot of great jazz videos and jazz streams. And on top of that, Vinyl Richie, love Vinyl Richie. He's a legend in the vinyl community. So Vinyl Richie. And the last 2 I'm going to shout out is, the first one is a young lady by the name of Jade Lauren, who's recently come sort of to the attention of some people in the vinyl community. She's a young lady in her early 20s. And though not all her videos are about vinyl, she does a lot of things that would appeal to, to young ladies, products, and top 10 songs, things like that. She is getting into vinyl, so I think she's a worthy addition to the vinyl community. She's a nice young lady, and she's getting into vinyl heavily and expanding her world of vinyl. It's nice to see young people into vinyl, and I always want to support young people that get into vinyl records. And she's gotten into them, and obviously loving a lot of the things that young people are into right now. So I always appreciate watching her videos to see what young people are into, because I can learn some things from that. But she's also a big Beatles fan, and she just recently got into The Cure, and so congratulations to her for getting into The Cure. So check out Jade Lauren, check out her channel, and I hope I pronounced your name right. Niamh, the Prog Nerd, I believe it is. Niamh, the Prog Nerd. Let me just double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's Niamh, the Prog Nerd. That's right, Niamh, the Prog Nerd. A new channel, fairly new channel. Only got a couple hundred subscribers. Always really great to see some young channels, young people getting into the VC, and we need to support the young people in the VC. With that all being said, let's get on with the vinyl tag 2021. And question number 1 is a discovery in 2020. Well, I didn't discover too much in 2020 because I've said in previous videos that my collection of old 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all that stuff is kind of where I want it to be, though I do have holes I want to fill in my collection. There's not a lot I'm looking to discover. I mean, you never know, I might discover something tomorrow. But I definitely I'm discovering new music all the time. And in 2020, I did discover a few new bands. And I've gotten very heavily into symphonic, European symphonic metal in the last few years. So my first discovery from 2020 is Beyond the Black and Heart of the Hurricane, a fantastic spin. Beyond the Black, Heart of the Hurricane. Absolutely love this album. Symphonic metal from Eastern Europe. Great stuff. Highly recommend. So that's a discovery for me from 2020. And another band I discovered also in the metal realm of symphonic or even just straight up heavy metal are these ladies here. And they are called Burning Witches. They've got 3 albums out. And I discovered them earlier this year, and I ended up getting all 3 of their albums. This is their second album called Burning Witches and Burning Alive. I believe that's self-titled. Yeah, Burning Witches and Burning Alive. And what this was a packaging of their first album, Burning Witches, and an EP called Burning Alive repackaged. And it came with the CD. This is Burning Witches, their second effort. Also a symphonic metal band, or straight up metal band from Eastern Europe. Burning Witches, great stuff. And I'll also put these down later in the vinyl tag. There's a question that says name a girl group. So here's my first girl group I'm going to show. All female symphonic metal band, Burning Witches. Next up, a quarantine buy. Well, a lot of the stuff I'm showing tonight is quarantine buys. Because we've been in quarantine here in Canada since the beginning of March. We've never really been out of quarantine, and we are back in heavy quarantine now. So pretty much 95% of everything I bought this year was online, was curbside pickup, was quarantine buys, mostly online. So like those first 2 I just showed you, those are quarantine buys. So lots of quarantine buys. But this is a quarantine buy for sure. I'll just have an official quarantine buy for the question. This is the second album from one of my favorite artists, Lizzy Sterling, who I showed in my last video for the top 25 of 2020. This is her second album, one that was missing from my collection, which was reissued. So this goes down to answer, a favorite reissue, the favorite reissue question later in this vinyl tag. So, but this is a reissue that came out this year. Lizzy Sterling's second album, Shatter Me, an absolutely spectacular album also. And this was a limited edition, numbered edition reissue that was pressed on a gorgeous, I believe, pink vinyl. Shatter Me, Lizzy Sterling, the violinist extraordinaire, who has 5 albums out. This is her second album. So glad to pick that up in our quarantine buys. Lizzy Sterling, Shatter Me. Next up, an LP you want to find in 2021. Well, that would be this one right here. One of my favorite band, as a lot of people in the VC know, my favorite band is Golden Earring. And I have just about all of the Golden Earring studio albums. There's only one of the 26 studio albums that by Golden Earring that I do not have on vinyl record. And that is this one here, entitled Golden Earrings Miracle Mirror. This was their third release, Miracle Mirror by Golden Earrings. I've only got this CD version, so this is one that is really hard to find, that I really hope to find in 2021 to complete my Golden Earring studio album collection. I have all 25 other studio albums on vinyl record, missing this one, so hope to find this one in 2021. Next up, a box set, and this is the first. Here's my official box set entry, though there is another box set, 2 box sets in my vinyl tag, and this is Alan Parsons, The Secret. This album came out in 2017, and Alan Parsons, of course, famous for engineering the Beatles' Abbey Road and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, who then went on to do the Alan Parsons Project, which I really enjoyed, the Alan Parsons Project. Big fan of Alan Parsons Project. They did a number of albums before they broke up, and now he's just been Alan Parsons on his own for quite a few years and has released a small handful of solo albums under the name Alan Parsons, but they still have that Alan Parsons touch and that Alan Parsons Project feel. This is The Secret, his last album from 2017. This was the limited edition box set, which included in it, if I can get it open, included in it a t-shirt, which I've never worn this. I should wear this. A t-shirt, a lithograph, a big, huge fold-out poster, the album itself, which is right here, the album itself, The Secret, fabulous album, fabulous spin, The Secret, the album itself, the CD version of the album, which had both the CD and a 5.1 DVD surround mix. I think it was DVD, or was it Blu-ray? It was DVD, yeah. 5.1 surround mix of the album and regular CD mix of the album. And last but not least in the box set was a double live CD of Alan Parsons in concert, playing all his fantastic hits from the Alan Parsons Project and his solo works. Double live CD, and this was Alan Parsons' Lifespan, a 2 CD live album recorded in Stuttgart, Germany in 2013. So there is my box set. Alan Parsons, The Secret. The first of a few box sets that will appear in my video tonight. Next up, a concept album. Well, my all-time favorite concept album, hands down, without question, this one right here. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis, when the last one Peter Gabriel did with the band before he left the band. Fantastic album. Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. My favorite concept album of all time. And I just received this t-shirt as a VCLT from Naz Nomad. David Michael, thank you very much, my friend, for sending me this t-shirt this week. It arrived just in time for this video. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. My favorite concept album of all time. Next up, an album where an artist or band changed directions. And what I've chosen for this one, Joe Jackson, who was famous, of course, for doing punky, sort of punk new wave in his first few albums, first 2 or 3 albums, then changed directions and made this fantastic album, which I absolutely love. And it is called Joe Jackson's Jump and Jive. It's a jive swing, big band jive swing album, totally different than anything else he ever did. Joe Jackson's Jump and Jive, a big departure from this very punk new wave, I'm the Man. Joe Jackson, Jump and Jive. Next up, a white label promo. I've got 2 white label promos to show you here. The first, I'm just going to pull it out of the jacket here. I should have done this beforehand, but well, I'll do it now. Deep Purple in concert. I received this also from Naz Nomad a few months ago. Naz sent me this album. Thank you very much, David Michael. And this is Deep Purple in concert. This was a Japanese only release. Was never released domestically here. Contained 2 different live performances on this album. And when I was very surprised to find out when I played it that they were indeed white label promo. Yeah, white label promo, Deep Purple in concert, fantastic spin, Japanese pressing. And also one more, and this one this one arrived this week as well, along with this t-shirt from Naz Nomad, David Michael. I got this little piece of VCLT right here, and this is a UK 12-inch promotional single with mixes that I have never heard before. Britney Spears, and I know a lot of people like to poke fun at me for Britney, but Britney Spears, I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman. And this was a UK 12-inch promotional white label promo. One more for you. Britney Spears, white label promo. Next up, a compilation album. Compilation album. This is the first, and there is going to be another compilation album later in this video, but this is another compilation album, and for my entry for compilation album, and it's also a box set. New Order singles, the 4LP compilation album by New Order. Fabulous spin, all on 180-gram vinyl. Includes this, notes here, and then 4 albums housed in jackets. It is a complete discography, all the singles from New Order, from their first album right up into their not their last album, but the album just before that. New Order Singles Collection, 4 LP box set, and it's a compilation. And next up, let's see, an album that tells a story. And the next album that I go definitely tells a story. And this question, a lot of people have been, quite a number of people have answered it wrong. It's not an album that tells a story in the album, because that's what we had the concept album for. It's an album that has a story attached to it, that tells a story, that something about that album, that you personally have a story about that album. And the album I'm going to show is by a young man. I've shown him many times before, and I don't mind showing him again. And one day I went into my favorite record store where I do most of my shopping, about 3 years ago or so. And I was feeling like having something new, and I didn't really know what to get. And I asked my record store guy, I go, you got something you can recommend to me? You know the music I like, you know kind of what I like. And he suggested this young fellow here. And he suggested this album right here. And it was Project Gemini, An Ordinary Day. The debut album from Project Gemini, which is Mark Anthony Kaye, who I've talked about many times on this channel. This is the debut LP. And he spun it in the store for me just for a few minutes, and I was so immediately impressed. When he spun it in the store, I said, yeah, give me that album. And he had just received the second album by this young man at the same time, so I ended up buying both the albums, you know, based on a couple of minutes of sound sampling in his store. I bought both Mark's, this album and his next album, A Brand New Day. So that would start me down my road of Project Gemini, who I then followed Mark's Facebook page, became very involved and very curious about his music, and he was working on a third album. And I realized that we lived only about 15 minutes away from each other. We met up on Record Store Day that year, got to know each other at Record Store Day. We've been huge friends ever since, close friends ever since. I fully support this guy. He's a wonderful guy. Fantastic music. I highly recommend Project Gemini. So this album definitely tells the story of the beginning of a great friendship with a great young man by the name of Mark Anthony Kaye. So definitely a story to that album. And we're down the first half of the questions. On to the second half of the questions now. And let me just slide this over for the second half of the questions. And before I get to the second half of the questions, though, I do want to remind everybody that if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thumbs up always make people feel good. And if you want to leave a comment down below, I always love reading the comments, and I try to reply to every comment. And please subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. My subscriber count continues to go up. Thank you to everybody that continually subscribes to my channel. And turn that notification bell on so that you know when I'm dropping my next video, and I try to do a video like this every week. Last but not least, follow me on Instagram at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I try to post my spin of the day every day. And now on to part 2 of the questions. And the next one up is an album that needs a vinyl pressing. And just as I showed a few minutes ago the golden earring Miracle Mirrors that I hope to find on vinyl one day, there is one album in the official Golden Earring catalog that has never been pressed on vinyl. All their studio albums have been pressed on vinyl. All their live albums have been pressed on vinyl, except the very last live album they did, which was called Naked 3, Golden Earring Naked 3. So far, it has only been available on CD, and this is a fabulous sounding CD. This is one of these SA CDs, so it's got incredible sound. But I would really like to see this pressed to vinyl, as it's the only Golden Earring album in their catalog that yet has not been pressed to vinyl. So this is my pick for an album that needs a vinyl pressing. This one right here, complete my collection of Golden Earring. The only album they released that has not yet been pressed to vinyl. Golden Earring, Naked 3. A common and an uncommon album. Well, I've got that right here. And it's also another box set. This is the Thick as a Brick limited edition box set that came out a few years ago by Jethro Tull. And what is in here is, of course, The Common album, Thick as a Brick. Everybody knows this album. It's a classic by Jethro Tull. One of my top 2 favorite Jethro Tull albums of all time. Jethro Tull, Thick as a Brick. This is a modern reissue, remaster reissue. And that's a very common album. But what's uncommon is Thick as a Brick 2. Thick as a Brick 2, very uncommon. And these were also concept albums. So we've also got concept album, box set, and uncommon common albums. The uncommon one being Thick as a Brick, Volume 2, released many, many years later. I believe 2012, 40 years later, or 2011, something like that, 40 years later. And what it did is this album told the story of all the characters in this album and where they had gone, 40 years later, what they were up to. Thick as a Brick, number 2. A concept album, a box set, a common and an uncommon album. I got them together in this fabulous box set, which included a beautiful hardcover book featuring the original newspaper that came in Thick as a Brick 1, a making of the album, and then the website that was from Thick as a Brick 2. Instead of a newspaper, they did a website thing. So there you go, common and uncommon albums, Thick as a Brick and Thick as a Brick 2. And also a box set, and also a concept album. Next up, let's see, common album. One more common, uncommon, and common album. Common album, Alice Cooper, Killer. And this one also will come down in the later thing where I had to have an OG copy of Question, which comes up later. And this is an OG copy, and the reason I would want an OG copy of Alice Cooper's Killer is because the OG copies, of course, came with that 1971 calendar attached. So that's an OG. You don't get that you don't get the calendar on anything but the OGs. So that's a common, Alice Cooper, Killer. And an uncommon, Alice Cooper, Along Came a Spider. Uncommon, a little more common on CD, but very, very little on LP. And this was actually on a kind of a neon white, glowy white kind of, it's not glow in the dark, but just kind of a glowy white colored vinyl. Alice Cooper, Along Came a Spider, from I believe it's 2008. Along Came a Spider, a little more uncommon. You definitely don't see it around on vinyl. Moving on, an EP. I got 2 EPs for you here, and they say EP right on them. So the first one is from Coldplay, and this is their Kaleidoscope EP from a few years ago, I believe 2015, I'm guessing, 2017. Coldplay, the Kaleidoscope EP, which had the massive hit on it, Something Just Like This. Kaleidoscope, Coldplay, the Kaleidoscope EP, and this was on a blue vinyl, I believe. Pressed on a beautiful blue vinyl. Coldplay, the Kaleidoscope EP. And one more EP also says EP right on it, and it's the $5.98 EP by Metallica. Yeah, it was called the $5.98 EP by Metallica with 5 fantastic songs on it as well. There are a couple EPs for you. Next up, a girl group. You saw one girl group, Burning Witches, earlier. Here's another girl group, and probably one of the most famous girl groups of all time. Absolutely love this album. The Ronettes. You can't go... Presenting the fabulous Ronettes. There's nothing I really need to say. This is a classic. Be My Baby. Baby, I Love You. Walking in the Rain. This is an epic girl group album of all time. The Ronettes. Also another girl group from the UK, Bananarama. And this is kind of an uncommon album. We're speaking about common and uncommon. This is an uncommon album from just a few years ago, I believe 2017 or 18, 2017. And this is live at the London Eventim Hammersmith Apollo. Bananarama, UK girl group. Next up, an album cover you love. Easy peasy here. One of my favorite album cover artists is Jim Fitzpatrick, who did, of course, the classic Vagabonds of the Western World by Thin Lizzy, a fantastic album cover. Love Jim Fitzpatrick's work. He also did Chinatown, the famous Jailbreak, which I've shown before. That's Vagabonds of the Western World. And another one by Jim Fitzpatrick, Nightlife. Love his work, love his work. Beautiful. And another, one more. Why not? Throw another one in here. Another album cover I love. This one here by Nazareth. This is Expect No Mercy, done by Frank Frazietta, the artist. This painting was originally done by Frank Frazietta, the artist. This is just an incredible, powerful picture. Definitely fit the name of the album, Expect No Mercy. Frank Frazietta, famous artist. And this one here, which I've shown before, also from Nazareth, and also the album that followed Expect No Mercy. Love this artwork, No Mean City, also by Nazareth. No Mean City. I think that's just a sick picture. It's absolutely incredible. Let's get the whole look going for you here. No Mean City by Nazareth. Incredible album art. And the belt buckle of this, from this picture, would go on to become Nazareth, part of Nazareth logo over the years. Next up, an album you've listened to the most. Well, people that know my channel very well know that Billion Dollar Babies by Alice Cooper, Golden Earrings, Moontan, I've mentioned many times before, are albums I've played the most, or played to death, whatever you want to say. This one is no exception. I didn't want to show those because I've shown them before, and I try to always show new things on my videos. So I picked a couple more albums that I listen to the most. And they are the Pet Shop Boys, and this is the Introspective album, Pet Shop Boys Introspective. Their third album in their catalog from way back. Love this album, Introspective. I've played this one to death over the years, which of course had the big hits, Left to My Own Devices, Domino Dancing, and Always on My Mind. Pet Shop Boys, Introspective, a classic. It gets a lot of play. And Thin Lizzy once again. Bad Reputation, one of my all-time favorite Thin Lizzy albums, Bad Reputation, which also goes to answer the very next question, an album that you had to get an OG copy of. And as I said with the Alice Cooper Killer, Bad Reputation, I absolutely love this album. I had to have an OG, and this is an original OG, first UK pressing on the Vertigo Spaceship label. This is an OG from the UK, first pressing of Bad Reputation by Thin Lizzy, and it sounds incredible. So there's my next question answered, an album you have to get an OG copy of, as well as being one of the albums I've listened to the most. Bad Reputation by Thin Lizzy. Almost at the end. Next up, last album you purchased. Well, that was this one right here. Last weekend, April Wine, Greatest Hits. This is the Record Store Day Canada release, which came out. It was supposed to come out on Black Friday, but was delayed, and actually didn't show up until December, till almost the end of December. April Wine, Greatest Hits, and it's going to be on a opaque blue vinyl. So this is the latest thing I have purchased. Still waiting to open it. April Wine, Canadian Rockers, and their Greatest Hits album. And next up is an album they just don't get. Well, I showed Britney and that promotional white label single, and people in the vinyl community just don't get Britney Spears. I get ribbed a lot. I get really a hard time from a lot of VC members about it, the fact that I enjoy Britney Spears, and I don't care. Music is subjective. I don't see a label on albums that says this music is only for a certain age of people. Music is ageless, timeless, subjective. So people don't get the Britney. But to get a little bit more into detail here, I'm going to go with these two. And the reason I'm showing this one is because of something that happened on a stream earlier this week, where I suggested this artist on stream. And I was not greeted very favorably for suggesting this artist. And I suggested this particular album, and I said, try this album. And they proceeded to play it on stream, but they only played about 5 seconds of the very beginning of the song, like literally played like the 5 seconds of the intro and said, this is terrible. And then later, then they did like a fast forward and played like 1 second in the middle of the song and said, it's garbage. And so I didn't take to that very well. So I'm going to show it right now because they just don't get it. I love this album. Maynard Ferguson, MF for horn. I suggest that all those people that knock this album sit down and listen to the entire album. Honestly, I don't care if you don't get it. I get it. I think it's fantastic. And there you go. I get it. And another album that people don't get is this one here. This is Golden, from my favorite band, Golden Earring, The Hole. And even the band, looking back in retrospective, they kind of don't like this album, and they've said publicly that this album did not do well. The previous album was News, which was before that was Cut, which were very big, and then they released The Hole, which kind of tanked for them. It did not do well at all. And Golden Earring has since, in modern time here, has said they kind of wish they'd never released this album. I got this album. I get it. I loved it when it came out. I still love it. Every song on it, I love it. I get what they were going for at the time when they made this album, and I love it. An album that they don't get, that I get. Golden Earring, The Hole. And we're almost at the end here. Where are we? A punk album, or the closest thing you have to it. Well, I've got 3 punk albums here, and what I did is I went through 3 different countries. First, I started in the UK, and the debut album from The Clash, one of my all-time favorite punk albums for sure. The debut album from The Clash, incredible, fantastic, from the UK. Then the debut album from the Ramones from the US. That's right, the Ramones, debut album by the Ramones from the US of A. Another fantastic album that I absolutely love. And then last but not least, the debut album from this band, which were a punk band from Canada. And I kind of rank all these equal. The Clash's first album, the Ramones' first album, and Teenage Head from Canada, their debut album. This album is fantastic and should be in every punk person who loves punk collection. And so we got Canada, US, and UK punk, all debut albums, all fantastic, all required listening. Find it, Teenage Head, their debut album. Fantastic. And last up, favorite reissue of 2020. There were quite a few reissues of 2020, and I looked at them, but I decided that this one here was my favorite reissue because I'm a big fan of this man's work. This is Bruce Springsteen, The Boss, The Rising. This is the 2020 reissue. I absolutely love this album with, of course, the classic The Rising, plus Lonesome Day, Waiting on a Sunny Day, Nothing Man, Empty Skies, Worlds Apart, Further On Up the Road. This is just My City of Ruins. Bruce Springsteen at his best, The Rising 2020 reissue. And that's it. That's all. That's the vinyl tag 2021. My response to that. And that's it. That's all. I will see you guys all in my next video. Have a fantastic week. And as I always say, rock and roll.